Hello and welcome to Ghoulish. My name is Max Booth, and I'm a host with the most what? I don't know, but those two things rhyme, and often you'll hear people say the host with the most. I don't exactly know what that means. Anyway, today on the podcast, I am talking to Scott Kemper, who is one of the co-hosts of the Stealing Into the Abyss podcast. He reviews for Signal Horizon, I think is the name. Fuck, I should have really looked up the name to confirm that's the actual name of the website, but I'm not going to do it. It's too late. The podcast is going because I'm Max Booth. I am a host, and you are listening to Ghoulish. And today, Scott Kemper and I are talking about spooky video games. So strap in and enjoy. Ooh, spooky video games. Ooh. Ooh, ah, ooh. Okay, let's do this.
You want to talk about some spooky video games?
Of course, I always want to talk about some spooky video games.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, Scott, and then when I ask you these questions, I expect you to follow that up with an answer. This is how interviews work. What do you think about this? Are you good with this?
Oh, I'm not too sure if I'm good about this. I'll do my best.
Well, let's give it a shot, okay. So what makes you, Scott, qualified to talk about spooky video games? Have you ever played a video game?
That is a really good question. I'm not too sure if I've ever actually played a video game, but I like the idea of video games.
The concept, yeah, I get it.
The concept, yeah, though. It's an interesting concept.
One time I was walking through a shop, and I saw a video game, like, on the shelf, and I thought, I agree. Any thoughts on that, Scott?
I know that feeling all too well.
What makes a video game spooky?
I mean, it depends on what you're looking for in the game.
What are you looking for in the game?
So for me, when I play a video game, I'm really like interested in narrative, and I care a lot about like a narrative experience. So for me, like a spooky game would add to like kind of a narrative that's full of dread, or a narrative that's full of like darkness, and you kind of like going through it.
I have to admit something. Now, this is not a joke, but out of any like any type of format of this genre that we love, books, movies, video games, music, I would say video games freak me out more than anything else. I have a difficult time playing games. They give me, I guess, anxiety a bit. Like, for example, the Resident Evil 7, the latest one, I think that's the newest one. I couldn't keep playing it because I would just panic. Something about being into the game yourself does something movies and books just can't achieve.
Yeah, it puts you like in the experience of the character in the game. So like you feel more invested in this experience because it's more interactive.
I guess it also doesn't help that I am awful at video games. I am not good at all, so I'm constantly dying, and that just does not help anything.
Are you the type of person who hits like the pause button as soon as something scary happens?
No, I just kind of panic and I run around in a circle until I die. I'm definitely screaming in my living room like, oh god, and then I die, and that's just how I play video games. I'm not good at it. I mean, not even spooky video games. Like, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, the cops are coming after me, I'm driving in a circle because I'm afraid.
I can't help you with that aspect of it then, Max.
Okay, I mean, that's probably why I don't play too many games now. I mean, I've come to films with the fact that I'm just not good at them and I panic too often. But it makes me concerned because what's going to happen if anything spooky actually happens to me in real life? Am I just going to begin running around like a dog chasing its tail? I mean, possibly.
I think if how you play video games is relevant to how you actually perform in real life, if something spooky happens, you might just end up in the fetal position and just like hope for the best.
Have you, how do you react when spooky things happen?
I haven't really had a spooky experience in a long time. The last spooky experience I had is more of like a real life spooky experience. And I just kind of like accepted my fate and hope for the best.
You got down on the ground and began cradling yourself. I understand.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was able to make it out of the situation unharmed. So it worked.
Oh, you lived. That's great.
I lived.
I was getting a bit nervous when you said that because I thought maybe I was talking to a ghost and I would have gotten afraid. I haven't Skyped with any ghosts that I know about yet, but I mean, I guess it's possible sometime down the line.
I'm sure you've Skyped with the Ghost Event before.
Oh man, that sounds like a great Lifetime movie. I Skyped with a ghost. I would rate that. I would also watch that.
Watch the fuck out of that movie.
Could you imagine? I mean, I love Lifetime movies because they have no idea how to treat like technology. This was a great one called Cyber Seduction about a little kid who gets addicted to internet pornography, and it goes into some crazy direction. So I imagine I Skyped with a ghost would be pretty awesome.
It would be pretty awesome and pretty tone deaf at the same time, like any like good Lifetime movie.
I think we should just stop this and begin a Lifetime movie podcast. I mean, that sounds way more fun.
Before we go on, I'm looking up Cyber Seduction.
Yeah.
It has a 3.3 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
Well, that's great.
Out of 1,912 ratings.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's like mini golf, right? Whoever has the lowest score wins.
Yeah.
So,
that's about right.
It's pretty much like you have The Godfather, then Cyber Seduction.
No, The Godfather 3, then Cyber Seduction.
Oh yeah, my mistake. Because I'm also a 3, I just assume that when I say anything, everybody else knows I'm implying the 3 after it. Yeah. Like, I always introduce myself as Max Booth, but obviously I'm not my dad or my grandfather, because my grandfather is dead. Maybe I could Skype with him.
I mean, you could try to reach out, see what happens.
Yeah, I've never met that man. He was a scientist, Scott. He was on the team that invented fake leather. They call it pleather, my friend. And somehow I'm not rich, and that upsets me.
I'd be upset too.
Yeah, supposedly he was best friends with the man who invented Fritos as well. But at the last second, he decided not to go in with them.
Oh, that sounds like a mistake.
It does sound like a mistake. If I had him on the podcast, I guess I would ask, hey, what's going on with that, man?
Why didn't you take that Frito deal, man?
I could be rich. I wouldn't have to do a podcast right now. Now, before we got on a Skype, I asked you to come up with 3 spooky video games you would want to talk about, and I said I would come up with 3 games as well, and we would kind of swap. So,
yes,
I assume you did this.
I did.
Congratulations. Okay, great. So I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go, Phils, because you are my guest. So hey, Scott, be my guest.
So the 3 that stick out the most to me, that like kind of become formative for me, is an old point-and-click adventure game based on the Harlan Ellison short story "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream."
Yikes! So what's that?
It's about a person who has no mouth and facing existential dread, and he cannot scream although he wants to.
How do you scream without a mouth?
You can't.
Fuck. I mean,
but
have you tried?
I have a mouth, so I can't say I've dealt with that experience before.
Yeah, that checks out.
But no, really the game is like, it's a point-and-click adventure game, kind of like the old Indiana Jones games, or like
Monkey Island, yeah.
Monkey Island, yeah.
Monkey Island fucking
and
rocks.
Yeah, it does. And the whole idea is like you play as the people from the short story, like the several different people, and they invented new narratives for them, for like them to like go through their regrets and their nightmares.
Oh my god.
And it goes into like the end, which it follows like the Harlan Ellison story pretty well. And they
Yeah.
even got Harlan Ellison to do a voiceover for it.
Oh my god. Do you think they paid him?
I mean, they must have, or else he wouldn't have agreed to do it. We know how curmudgeonly that person was.
Maybe that's what made him so cynical. This fucking video game cheated him.
And they added more backstory to the characters, but you still have like the same outcome with like this dystopian future, post-apocalyptic, ruled by an AI, and these people trying to outsmart the AI to stop their endless torture.
That sounds awesome. So how can I play that game now, Scott?
You can buy it on Steam for like $10 or less.
I'm not gonna do that. Go ahead.
I mean, there's a ways to acquire it by not paying, but I don't know if we can legally speak about those online. But you can get it on like Steam or GOG.com. It's not too expensive.
God.com? No, you said
Yeah,
G.
GOG.com.
Oh, GOG. I thought you said God.
Yeah. No, GOG. GOG means great old games or good old games.
God.com must be a website, though. It has to be.
I mean, His Holiness must have like a website up for himself, or else he doesn't exist.
Oh man, I hope it has like a page count at the bottom of the screen.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I just typed in God.com. It redirects to mybible.com.
Oh.
So, therefore, God doesn't exist because he has his own website. It's just a website for a mybible.com.
I mean, that's kind of like a point-and-click game if you think about it. I'm not going to expand on that thought at all.
It is, a little bit.
What's the second game you came... No, I'll give you a game now. It's my turn to begin talking. Okay, so the game I wanted to talk to you about... So, I mean, when I think about spooky games, I think about the spookiest game of all time, Pac-Man. Now, this is a game about...
Oh, shit!
Yeah, this is a game about a semi-eaten pizza being chased by ghosts. And also citrus, I guess. I don't know why pizza needs to eat fruit, but I've always found that quite terrifying. And the main reason I want to talk about Pac-Man is I find it really funny. The original name of this game was Puck-Man, and they changed it because, you know, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it's all Reagan's fault.
Fucking Reagan, man. He couldn't allow Puck-Man, even though the game was developed in Japan. But, you know, the thing you don't hear about Reagan is Reagan, he controlled Japan for a long time.
Reagan controlled the world.
Yeah, man. But then he died. So they say.
Oh, he's not dead.
Yeah, I don't
There's
think
no
he
way
is.
he's dead.
I've definitely
there's no way
Skyped
he's
with
dead.
Reagan. I might be Skyping with him right now.
But Max, you missed the scariest part about Pac-Man.
Oh, did I?
The scariest part is you're a half-eaten pizza with an uncontrollable hunger, and you must eat everything around you till there's nothing left.
And no matter how much you eat, you don't seem to, like, expand at all. It's like you have an empty abyss inside of your gut, and all the fruit that you can eat just goes into it and vanishes immediately. It is terrifying.
Or he has a tapeworm.
Yeah, maybe that too. That would be interesting at the end of the game. It just like fucking flies out of its throat. I mean, have you ever played Pac-Man, Scott?
I have. When I was a kid, my dentist had a Miss Pac-Man machine in the office, and I played it every time I went to get my teeth looked at.
That's not what I asked you. I asked if you played Pac-Man, not Miss Pac-Man, Scott.
Same difference. I played Pac-Man before, too.
Oh, okay, cool. Did the dentist have Pac-Man as well, or just Miss Pac-Man?
No, just Miss Pac-Man.
Man, these fucking SJWs leaving out the Pac-Man. Ugh, makes me sick, Scott.
Trying to rewrite history.
Fucking politically correct dog shit. What's your second game?
My second game we actually brought up earlier, but I would say, like, at least for me speaking, Resident Evil was a really big, like, influence on me early on in my gaming days.
Hell yeah, same.
especially like the first Resident Evil with the really shitty voice acting. And he just had like a script that was translated from a Japanese person who kind of knew English. So like half the dialogue doesn't make any sense at all.
Now, what does the title mean of this video game? Can you explain that?
To be honest, like I have no idea because
Neither
the
do I.
Japanese title actually makes more sense.
Biohazard, right?
Yeah.
So what the like? I don't know. Like I think I think Resident Evil. I think okay, this is gonna be a spooky landlord game.
Yeah, you think like it's a spooky haunted house or whatever.
Yeah, I mean there was a spooky house in the original game at least, so I guess
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of makes sense.
and then it's a spooky house, but there's no paranormal. It's just like zombies and mutant dogs
Yeah, I
and
mean,
like monsters.
do you know why they changed the name? I have no idea.
To be honest, I'm not 100%, but I know like I think they changed the name for either one of two reasons. Reason number one, I believe there was a band around the time called Biohazard who is still a band, and maybe there was like some issues involving the name or whatever, but I also think like Capcom maybe felt Biohazard was a bad name in English.
Do they maybe they didn't know what it meant? Like, what's this Japanese shit? Bio what?
So they just decided to change the name over.
Oh, that's stupid. Now, what do you think is like the best game of the whole franchise? Maybe not the best game, but the game that you like the most.
I mean, my favorite, just personally speaking, is probably, I'd say for nostalgia's sake, Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, you can't beat that opening with the city in flames.
Yes,
So
and
fucking good.
they did a remake for the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, how is it? I haven't gotten it
It's
yet.
that it's really good, and like they actually made it to be like back to the roots where it's all about inventory management, which I think makes the game scarier because the whole idea is like you don't have limited ammo. You have to like conserve your ammo, and you're going to be raped by this giant monster thing, but you can't do shit about it because you can't shoot it.
I always love the idea of just thinking about running around a city holding all these green plants. Because usually, like in the menu, they even have like the vase still in too, the plantless
Yeah.
case. I just imagine he's just cradling them as he's shooting these zombies. Like, no, I need to save these plants in case I get bit.
And then you mix the plants together to create better healing items.
Fucking Heisenberg over here doing some chemistry. Oh man,
I mean,
that's what the Breaking Bad movie needed. Zombies.
yeah, El Camino really was missing zombies.
I agree. Maybe, I mean, I'm gonna take a guess that this isn't the last Breaking Bad movie we'll see, so maybe we'll get a zombie one down the line.
Oh, hopefully that'd be pretty sweet.
I'm positive I will make fun of the idea of a zombie Breaking Bad movie if that happens, but I will definitely watch it and probably love it. Because then you could bring back like all the faves. Like just because they died doesn't mean they can't be in the movie now.
And you could turn their meth addiction into like a tool that brings them back from the dead as like undead meth fiends.
Oh fuck! Like Walt messed up on one of the bases. No, the doses, and
Yeah.
now everyone's turning into zombies. That's pretty cool. Definitely some fanfic out in the wild about that. I bet.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Okay, so my second video game I would like to talk about is something that we already mentioned actually, Miss Pac-Man, which is a sequel to Pac-Man. Now this game is very different from the original Pac-Man because this time there's a pink bow. Ooh, pretty
So
spooky.
spooky.
Yeah, I mean, they took some major liberties with this. I mean, it was a new generation. I mean, the hippies had won. We got a pink bow, and I thought that was it was brave. What do you?
I kind
yeah.
of see it as SJWs trying to rewrite history.
I do think about that sometimes, and it does make me afraid for my children's future. But um, what are those white dots in the Pac-Man games? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
I think it's ghost shit, man.
I mean, if it is ghost shit, it would definitely make the game more fucked up,
Yeah.
which would make it better in my opinion.
I mean, what do you think ghost shit tastes like? I mean, it might be pretty good.
I mean, are you fantasizing about like drinking slime or slime?
Yeah, I mean, I would let Slime'll jizz in my face. What about you?
Uh, I have to think about it.
All right, I'll get back to you
I
by
mean,
the
it's
end
a
of the
once in a lifetime
episode.
experience, so
I mean,
it's
it
like,
is unless you trap it, and then like it just becomes your sex slave, I guess.
what if like Slimer Slime gets you really fucked up, so you just become like addicted to Slimer Slime?
I bet you that could happen. I mean, they didn't get slimed enough, but I could see that being a thing. It could be pretty dope. They begin selling it, and they just quit the ghost busting business, and they begin just becoming these drug dealing fiends, and then eventually the mix makes everyone become zombies. I don't know, man.
So it's like Ghostbusters meets Breaking Bad meets
Exactly
Zombie
that.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. I could dig it.
Yeah,
What-
I could fuck with that.
One thing I do like about the Ghost Bestial song is the lyric. Busting makes me feel so good. Moving on. What is your second game? No, your last game.
Um, I would say to kind of like embrace like what horror games are doing now.
Yeah.
I'd say one of the better games out there is probably like the Outlast series.
What was it?
Outlast.
Oh, yes. I know nothing about the Outlast game, so please explain everything. I just know the title, that's it.
They're super fucked up. So like the first game you play as a reporter and the classic, and you find out
Wait,
there's
wait. What type of news is this Pilsen doing? Will be doing like Fox News and like ultra right wing news, maybe some.
it's like newspaper internet stuff,
Nice. So like BuzzFeed.
pretty much.
Okay.
And he's contacted about this hospital that's running experiments on its mental patients. So he goes to the hospital to find out like what the fuck is going on. At the same time, the military is also showing up at the hospital because something serious is happening. And he gets trapped in this mental hospital where the mental patients have been let loose. And pretty much the whole idea of the game is you're trying to wander through this hospital, figure out what the fuck's going on, and also not die.
Oh man, that sounds
But-
awesome.
Part of what these games are is like, because you're a reporter,
Yeah.
you can't fight back. So your only weapon is a camera that has night vision,
Okay.
and you have to like stay hidden and sneak around the enemies and stuff, because if they see you, they'll chase you. And if they catch you, they'll kill you.
I'm afraid just thinking about that. That sounds terrifying. But also, I want
And-
to play this. Is this a like a PlayStation Full type of game?
It's on PlayStation 4, it's on Xbox One, it's on PC.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to get this.
And like the whole game is like he's going through the hospital, you're finding out what's happening in the background of the hospital through reading email files, through finding recordings that have been picked up.
What I love to
Through,
do,
like-
what I love to do in video games is read email.
Yeah, because you play video games to not read.
Reading
Um,
it's stupid.
The second game, which has a loose tie-in to the first game,
Yeah.
is you play as another man, because I guess men control everything.
Yeah, we've
you-
already established that.
You play as another man who's doing like online journalism with his wife. They have like a whole website. They record, they do like news outlets and stuff. And their helicopter crashes, and they find themselves at like this cult campground. That's like this crazy super Christian Jim Jones style cult.
Oh fuck yeah, man! I love those.
And like you got to figure out like the first one, what's going on, and like run away from everything because everybody wants to kill you.
So rude.
And both games get pretty fucked up. Like they get really gory, really graphic. They'll make you cringe.
Am I
They
gonna
don't
be
shy away
afraid?
from anything.
Am I gonna get
I
scared?
think you might shit yourself.
I think what freaks me out the most in video games is having to fight back. So maybe because I get to run like a chicken shit, I might like these.
Yeah, if you try to fight back, you die. Like you got to run from everything.
That's what I love doing. I love to run in video games, not in real life.
You love virtual running. The real life idea of running makes you feel exhausted.
Yeah, I like thinking about running, but that's about it.
You like the idea of running.
I like the concept, much like you like the concept of video games.
like the concept of moving your legs really fast.
Like a dog having a dream. You saying that reminded me of a game I used to play when I was a rowdy teen. Do you know about the Condemned game? That's a game, right? I'm not making that up.
Yes, I know. The Condemned games are awesome.
They made more than one, didn't they?
They made two.
I've only played the original, and it kind of reminds me of that, like the gameplay of like walking around, investigating. But you do fight in that game, so I guess it's not the same.
Yeah, you do get to fight back in the Condemned games.
I haven't thought about that game in a long time.
It's a really good game.
Yeah. That was another little game that freaked me out, and I quit because I kept dying.
There's another game that's similar to like the Outlast games where you can't fight back, you gotta run.
Yeah.
Is they made an Aliens game recently.
I have that.
Where you play as Ellen Ripley's daughter.
Yeah, and guess what? That game was difficult, and I stopped playing it.
It is a hard game.
Like, I did not make it long into it. The first time an alien jumped out of a box, I was like, I'm done. I waste a lot of money, I think, on video games. Maybe that's why I stopped buying them, because I just give up immediately.
Yeah, I've spent a good amount on video games, but I try to beat the games I play.
When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time just like watching my sibling playing video games. He was great at them. Still is, I assume. I mean, it's not like he's dead. It sounded like he was dead when I said he was great. But he's still alive as well as I know. And I enjoyed watching him play video games. And I know that's like a big thing now with kids where they go on YouTube and they just watch people play games.
Yeah, and that's kind of how horror games have gotten a new like resurgence in popularity.
Yeah.
Is because a lot of those like YouTubers like to play horror games and people like to watch them play horror games for the reactions that they get.
So I'll talk about my last video game, which is slightly different from the last two. Now this one was released in 1983. It is called Junior Pac-Man. And now this one is extremely different from the last two games I discussed with you, because now Pac-Man has a propeller hat beanie on his head, meaning he is a kid. It was a bold move, I thought, going back to his roots of a male protagonist.
Trying to redefine the game itself after people were so angry about the female representation in the second one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no room in video games for females, as we all know.
But there is room for boys with a little cap on the back of their head to prove to the audience that they're a boy.
Yeah, now, have you ever played Junior Pac-Man?
I have played Junior Pac-Man.
What do you think about that?
I think of the three Pac-Man games, I'd say Miss Pac-Man's the one I put the most time in, but Junior Pac-Man is pretty solid. It still has the ghost shit that he eats up. The ghosts are still absolutely horrifying, and the idea of an insatiable hunger is the most horrifying idea a game could have ever imagined.
They never tried to mix up these games too much, did they? Mostly just let's put something new on its head and call it a day.
Pretty much. It was the peak of originality.
I want to be in control of the ghost. That would have been cool.
I mean, that would have been a good idea for multiplayer.
Yeah. Like a legion of ghosts that you get to control. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. How come, what was it? Eating fruit would make these ghosts, paralyzed? What was going on with that again?
No, it was the big dot would turn the ghost blue, and it could eat the ghost.
The big ghost shit. Yeah, the big, long, constipated toad would make these ghosts just, freeze in shock. Oh my god, did he just eat that?
Yes, he did.
So I guess that's the only... It's if you have a haunted house, you have ghosts haunting you. The only way to bust those ghosts is to begin eating shit, is the lesson of this podcast.
Well, it's what was it? What's your favorite Ghostbusters lyric again?
Busting makes me feel good.
Yeah, so like you got to bust to get those ghosts out.
Now, Scott, I have a
And
question. Have you ever busted?
ooh, busted what?
Just, just go with that question. Just
I've
busting.
busted plenty of times.
Yeah. You like busting?
Feel good after I do it.
I feel great. I think after I do this podcast, I might go bust.
Why wait?
I get shy. So, Scott, you do a podcast. Why don't you tell me about it?
So I do a podcast called Staring into the Abyss with me, Michael Patrick Hicks, and Matt Brandenburg. And we pretty much spend each episode. It's like, you ever hear of a podcast called Castle Rock Radio?
No, please tell me, Mill.
So it's like Castle Rock Radio, except it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't suck.
Oh, nice. That's one
So
thing I hate.
instead of talking about Stephen Edwin King,
Yeah.
we actually talk about authors that are meaningful,
Okay.
and we talk about we just have a roundtable discussion of short fiction and novels, and just crack jokes,
Wow.
have a reverend at times, and just have a good time.
I was just thinking society needed a new podcast hosted by three white guys, so that's great.
Yeah, there's never enough podcasts hosted by white men.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Castle Rock Radio sucks. There is a female host, and we can't have that at all. So, I mean, I'm glad you're helping change society for the better, my friend. I hope the podcast is a success, and you have many, reviews on iTunes by the time this podcast goes live.
Oh, let's see how many reviews we do have on iTunes. I haven't checked this last week.
Oh, God. Okay.
Last time I checked, we were at 2.
Nice. That's a lot. That's more than one.
Now we're at 7 reviews, but only one's posted.
I think that means you have 7 ratings in one review.
Yes, 7 ratings and 1 review.
Yeah, trying to bamboozle my audience by claiming I have more reviews than you do? I don't think so, Scott.
Yeah, we don't have the 24 ratings that Castle Rock Radio has.
Yeah, well, we've been around a long time, so
That is true.
we've managed to get 24 ratings, and most of them, well, not good. I'm pretty sure it's because we have a female guest on sometimes, which is something you've wisely chosen not to do. So, once again, good job, Scott. How can folks find you online?
They can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088, and they can follow Staring into the Abyss at the handle, which Twitter gave us the best handle for this. It is at Into Staring.
Okay. Do you have anything else to promote?
Other than that, is be sure to tune into the podcast. We have episodes every 2 weeks. You can also follow my reviews at signalhorizon.com, and I'm going to be launching a blog for reviews as well as writings and stuff too.
Do you have the name of that blog yet? Well, no.
It's probably just going to be called, I haven't finalized it, but it's supposed to be scottkemper.wordpress.com or something like that.
Now, if we wanted to follow that blog on social media, I assume it's at Into Writing.
If I make a Twitter account for it, I can keep on brand and make it at Into Writing.
Okay.
But it's also as a poll as at Into Staring.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, as much joking as we did, and as much laughing as we just did right then, it's a pretty good podcast. Please go check it out. It's a good stuff. You're doing fun interviews and discussions.
It's a lot of fun to record.
Yeah, not like this episode. Ugh. All right, well, see ya.
See ya. Have a good one, Max.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to a new episode of Ghoulish with me, Max Booth, the host. If you liked today's episode, hey, why not go leave a review on iTunes? Spread the good word, baby. Also, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/PMM Publishing. And also, hey, maybe go pre-order my new novel, Touch the Night. Available now at cemeterydance.com. Limited to 750 signed hardcover copies. You know you want to do that, right? Right? Hell yeah, you do. But also, no matter what, do not forget, live spooky, die spooky.